You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, you can handle the truth, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. This is the Inner Circle broadcast for the afternoon. My monologue, your questions. Welcome everyone who's here live on the preparedmind.club and subscribestar.com. If you're on YouTube watching this, hey, give it a thumbs up. But seriously, look at doing a premium membership. It's only $2 a month. It supports all that we do, which is to reach out and wake people the fuck up. We got some awful, awful stuff to talk about on this Too Much World War III for a Tuesday. We'll get to the World War III stuff, folks, and it is nasty. It is nasty, but I just want to run down the line as people check in, grab a drink, hit their chairs, turn on the computer screen, and get ready to be rocked. Oh, and get your questions in. Get them down below into the comments, and Jolene and Uman will get them up on the screen. Folks, never have we been closer to World War III in the last, I don't know, since Reagan was president, since the Russian Soviet Empire was going. Since then, they've basically been a bunch of cuddly Russian bears until Joe Biden pissed off Putin. Now, I want to start, though, with something domestic rather than World War III. The Freedom Caucus is now threatening to get rid of Kevin McCarthy. And I have this, just for the love of God, just do it. No matter what happens, get rid of him now. I don't care if he hasn't satisfied everyone 100%. He's gotten this close to the third rail of not doing what he promised to do. Get rid of him. You don't wait for the kid to, break the cookie jar or break the piggy bank or steal the dad's beer before he gets in trouble. If he's reaching for the beer, he's in trouble. If he's trying to open the piggy bank, he's in trouble. If he's got his hand in the cookie jar, but he hasn't quite grabbed the cookie, he's in trouble. Get McCarthy out. Now, North Carolina Congressman says it is inescapable to me. It has to be done. I agree. It is done. McCarthy and Biden cutting a deal, right? It's no deal. It doesn't help us a bit. It's a bunch of political crap. It's a bunch of political crap. Dan Bishop from North Carolina, he says that he's the one I gave you the the quote from. It is inescapable to me. It has to be done. Get rid of the piece of shit. That's exactly what he is. I'm tired of waiting. Oh, well, speaking of that, right? McCarthy is threatening who? The FBI. The FBI, right? McCarthy is trying to get FBI Director Christopher Wray to turn over the bribery scheme documents that implicate the Bidens or face contempt charges. Just do it, you freaking coward. Quit the threats, quit the time delays. You say you've got 24 hours, and that should have been said 96 hours ago. Just do it. Well, McCarthy is a coward, and he's playing a game. He's cutting a deal with the Democrats, who at this stage have demonstrated they're not Americans. And by the way, we're in a construction zone again. Yeah, they have, they're playing a nasty game, the Democrats. It's called Destroy America. Why should we, for a second, give them a moment's rest? They are trash, folks. With a capital T. That's all they are. They hate America. They hate America. I mean, former director of the FBI, James Comey, came out and spoke about Donald Trump. He said, quote, I think he poses a near existential threat to the rule of law. This traitorous piece of shit has projected his seat, his position, his actions as Trump's. Remember, FBI director, now former, but then acting, allowed Hillary Clinton to commit felonies and refused to charge her with criminal actions. And that came, folks, after the election. He should have been tried, James Comey himself, for crimes, for failure to do his job. Hillary Clinton should have gone to jail. And Trump, folks, he should have pardoned the January 6 prisoners right then and there, the moment they were arrested. And he should have signed a bill that says anyone arrested for any crime, alleged crime, supposed crime, suspected crime, investigated crime over January 6th or January 5th is to be fully pardoned now and forever. And pardons cannot be overturned, folks. No, they can't. Anyways, I'm just absolutely vomitously ill today. Just coming off of Memorial Day weekend. I had a great weekend, except for all the shit going on out there. And interestingly, everyone I talked to today, everyone in my world said they had a great weekend. But for some reason, they have like twice the workload. It's like they got one day off and got 2 extra days of workload, but still must have been worth it, right? Now, Memorial Day, folks. My blood is fucking boiling hot right now because of what happened on Memorial Day weekend, when everyone should have been thinking of those Americans who were lost in war and those Americans, right, who are serving. The people should be contemplating those who are willing to give all for America. Instead, 3 Marines were beaten nearly to death by estimates of 30 to 50 teenagers at a California beach. San Clemente, folks, at the pier. It was very dark, so I guess it was hard to get a good count on them. But these Marines, folks, United States Marines, they're in recovery, and they were assaulted by a large group of teenagers Friday night. According to one of the Marines, named Hunter Antonino, he and the other 2 Marines were relaxing, walking along the pier when these teens showed up. They were setting off fireworks. They were being little assholes. They were disrupting the peace. And one of the Marines asked them to stop because some of the fireworks were like hitting him. So the teenagers decided they were going to beat the shit out of him. Knocked him to the ground, started beating the hell out of him. Now, I read some disturbing fucking comments from a bunch of smartasses. Oh, the Army would have never put up with that. That should have been a job for the Navy SEALs and the Rangers or something. Right. This isn't the movies, folks. This is real life. About the only chance these 3 guys had would have been to charge into this group and just start waylaying them first. But here's the deal, folks. That's the only way to deal with these cowards, is to just go after them. Right? But, I mean, even anyone, a jiu-jitsu master, Bruce fucking Lee, all they have to do is bum rush and smother you and take you to the ground, and it's over. That being said, I still say try this shit with me, bunch of cowards. Try this shit with Marines, with soldiers who are anticipating the trouble instead of trying to stop the trouble. I think the one mistake these Marines made was trying to be nice to these bunch of fruitcakes. White, brown, black. They were all a bunch of BLM Antifa turds. Right? Try this shit with someone who is a service member or a martial artist who are ready to fight and are willing to charge in and just start waylaying and punching people. Right? And either way, the response, folks, the results are going to be obscenely horrific, one way or the other. But I was always taught and trained that when you're ambushed, you charge into it because you're going to die. So you may as well die fighting. Teens, and these were a bunch of teens too, folks. A bunch of little commies and hood rats, no doubt. Pisses me off. Pisses me off because they weren't allowed, because someone tried telling them to knock their shit off. And it was good to see other Americans come to their rescue. But unbelievable. Unbelievable. I just fucking pissed about it, folks. Now, a little more on this debt ceiling resolution or fix that California Speaker of the House, Representative, so-called Republican, but he's no more than a shit show of a rhino, Kevin McCarthy, Representative Nancy Mace even went after him and said Republicans got outsmarted by a president who can't find his pants. He can't find his way off a stage. He can't read a cue card, right? And Biden, for what he is as far as worthlessness goes, McCarthy is a self-serving sellout piece of shit who has no principles. Folks, it's time to stand on our principles. And McCarthy needs to be stood down. So I want you guys, you right here on this channel, email, message, call your representatives in Washington, D.C., and all your state reps as well, and tell them no and no on this deal. If you compromise your principles, it's not a deal. It's a surrender. Remember that, folks, when you are in a war, and if you're losing and you surrender, you are suing for peace. You're making a deal. You're agreeing to lose. That is what every Republican does when they're in charge. And folks, they have the majority. Republicans have a majority and they're surrendering. Absolute horseshit. Just fucking bullshit, folks. Unbelievable. Now, speaking of these left-wing losers, internationally, folks, America is doing something that's getting attention. We watch the French and they're standing up. We're seeing the Italians fighting back. We're watching and listening to the Hungarians giving, not Russia, folks, but the European Union and all of the socialists the big middle finger. The Spanish are voting in conservatives, right? And the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who looks like the bastard son of Fidel Castro, communist leader of Cuba, right? Trudeau says Americans pushing back against woke politics is, quote, scary. I got news for you, you little bastard. 1%, meaning the fruitcakes and the pedos, the 1% pushing their agenda on us is scary. It's absolutely frightening that they have that kind of push. Well, it comes from the mainstream media. It comes from Hollywood. It comes from the sellouts in Washington, D.C. That's right, the sellouts, all of them. It's time to fight back, folks. Shit has hit the fan. If you haven't realized that, why don't you do yourself a favor? Whip your pants down around your ankles, bend over the fence in your front yard and see who nails you. I bet they're going to be a registered Democrat just waiting, because that's how they see all of us, folks. If we don't stand up, they think they're going to screw us all. And they think it's cute. Every last one of them. Don't believe that it's just the most radical Democrats, folks. It's all of the Democrats following the 1% and going, we'll do whatever you want. We'll say whatever you want. We'll support whatever you want, because I guess Democrats need a leader. Joe Biden isn't the leader. No, wait a minute. Joe Biden is one of them. He is an ice cream licking, hair sniffing pedo if I ever saw one. The man can't help it. He sees children and he runs right to them or calls them to him, tries luring them with candy and ice cream. Just what the fuck, right? You got your questions? You got your comments? Let's see them, folks. Let's get them lined up. There's a lot going on. Now, we got halfway through my monologue, folks. And I apologize for the background noise. Got halfway through the monologue. And I'm now going to get to World War III. This is critical, folks. This is unfucking believable. over 24 Ukrainian kamikaze drones have been striking Moscow today. All of them very close to Putin's official residence, as if Putin is going to live in his official residence while this type of crap is going on. Another drone attack, not just one, not two, but a couple dozen or more, folks. Ukraine, by the way, and I want you to understand this, Ukraine is using US and NATO bombs and drones. They're using US and NATO technology, and they're using United States military assistance to send highly lethal and high-tech smart bombs into Moscow in efforts to take out Putin, and they are literally destroying civilian property and injuring and killing Russian citizens. Does Lindsay, the war chicken, Mr. Light and the Loafers think these bombs are the best money ever spent because Russians are dying? What would the United States government say if Cuba was launching drone strikes into Miami and Tampa and Dallas and Houston and Montgomery, Alabama and Atlanta, Georgia and Jackson, Mississippi? What would the U.S. response be? Oh, okay, Cuba, you want to use Russian missiles and bombs to come after us? We're going after Russia too. So what will Russia's response be now? Right? When do the Russian attacks widen? And are they going to spread into Kiev's wealthy districts and little Voldemort Zelensky's house? Does Voldemort Zelensky live under his staircase in a little bunker like Harry Potter did? Or is Voldemort even in the country? Yeah. Does Russia have the justification now to send missiles into civilian areas? Why not? Ukraine is doing it with the United States missiles and NATO missiles. This is why the United States needs to stop funding and supplying these jackasses and say, you know what, if you're going to do that, the war is supposed to be over these territories that they lost. When in fact, the territories voted. That's right, folks. The people of the territories that Russia is protecting, they voted to be out of Ukraine. The same way Alaska or Hawaii could vote and say, we don't want to be part of the United States anymore. We have decided to form another union with another organization. The same way, I don't know, what if Puerto Rico or Cuba asked the United States to be a state? That's right, the United States government could consider it, could they not? Doesn't mean they have to accept it, but they could consider it. What if Japan wanted to be a state? Could Japan become a state? Well, of course they could. The United States government, through its constitutional means, could consider it. I'm not saying they would accept it, but they could consider it. This is the issue, folks, at hand. Those people in eastern Ukraine that voted to not be part of Ukraine are now part of the Russian Federation. Ukraine is now the aggressor state. The aggressor state is being supported by the United States of America government and the NATO, which is North American Treaty. It's the European governments. They're using our weapons to fight and start a war with Russia. This is deadly fucking serious. So Russia is going to fight back harder? Are they going to target Zelensky for elimination to make him a greasy red homo spot on the ground? What about other United States and NATO targets and military bases? Are they now on the playing board? Are they now targets? I think that they are. It's just, will Russia decide to make that step? Will they take that step? Meanwhile, Belarus now has Russian nuclear weapons. Belarus, folks, is a Russian Federation state. They are north of Ukraine. Belarus means white Russia. Belarus has been allies and enemies to Russia for centuries and centuries and centuries. Depending on who is in charge and who is leading each side, they're either great friends or they're pissed at each other, just like other European nations. France and Germany, for example. France and England, for example. Italy and France, Italy and Austria. Greece and Hungary, right? They all fight amongst each other. Then they're good buddies. Anyways, Belarus, the president there stands up and says, quote, there will be nuclear weapons for everyone who join the union between Russia and Belarus. This is a military union now, folks. It is. More World War III? You got it. Instead of peace, folks, we're getting nuclear proliferation and nuclear weapons distribution with Biden as president, Lindsay lighting the loafers Graham as idiot in chief, and the sausage smoker as well. And then also NATO is asking for nuclear proliferation. And the World Economic Forum wants nuclear weapons distribution because, well, that's what they're getting. That's what their actions and their policies have produced. And I'm waiting. I'm ready. I see what's happening. Someone is going to go off at some point. World War III and the potential for nuclear exchange and open warfare is coming faster and faster and faster now. Are you prepared? Do you see it? If you aren't ready and you aren't prepared and you aren't concerned about this, then boy, you're World War I, World War II, how did they start? In very similar manners. There were two or more sides, people picked teams, someone fucked up and went over the edge, and everyone else started a fist fight over it. World War I, the same exact thing as World War II as far as how it started. Right? Russia was an aggressor in the 20s and 30s. Germany didn't like it. Germany was antagonized by Poland and other countries, so Germany attacked. Invaded Poland, then started invading other countries. So Russia went and attacked Germany. The Allies went and attacked Germany from the West also. Fighting was everywhere. In the Pacific, you had Japan and China going off. The U.S. got dragged into it by Pearl Harbor, then went also and headed into Europe to fight there. The whole thing turned into a giant shit show. And remember, folks, World War I was started supposedly by a secret cabal known as the Black Hand, a super secret fucking group, organization, basically mafia, did a hit on the Archduke Ferdinand. In fact, I think they missed the first time and then got him the second time. And that was enough. That was enough, folks. You know, I don't know. I guess I'll say this. Go ahead and take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. I'm not saying what caused it, but there is a peer-reviewed study that finds substantial, sudden, and sustained increase in excessive mortality rates in early 2021. That's right. Someone new took office in 2021 and said, you better take some stuff. Take a wild guess. It was sudden, as in a spike, and sustained, it stayed up. Take a wild guess what it was, folks. And don't think it's gone away, because it hasn't. It hasn't. It absolutely hasn't. Oh, by the way, folks, domestically, the fruitcakes are still going at it as well. Sustained fruitcakery. There's going to be a Chicago gay pride, LGBTQ pride event. And it's going to feature drag dress up and makeovers for kids, for children. And it's sponsored by Lululemon or Lululemon, whatever the name of that fucking company is. Boycott them, folks. They're filthy child groomers and they need to be boycotted. And every company and person involved in this needs to be prosecuted. They're accelerating their program, folks. They're not stopping. They're not backing off. They're openly sponsoring this shit. They're selling their crap clothes. They're putting it on beer cans. They're putting it on pickup trucks. They're putting it on billboards. And they're coming after children. They're a bunch of hardcore perverts, folks, like this. Get this. The vice president of brand management at Target, the store, is a board member of GLSEN, which is the group, folks, that promotes the grooming pornography in schools and classrooms, and was set there by, you got it, Obama. These are hardcore perverts, folks, and they're connected at the top. They're costing Target billions of dollars. And now Kohl's and Budweiser and Ford and every company, Adidas, Nike, and they don't care that they're losing billions, folks. That's not the point. They don't care about the money anymore. They only care about getting your children and grandchildren. They're hardcore, folks. They're going all the way. Oh, Justin Trudeau in Canada, he doesn't like the fact that we're fighting back. That's scary to him. It's scary. Disney, they're not quitting. They've hired a man to wear a dress and greet little girls at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique in Disneyland. What the hell are they thinking? Well, you know what they're thinking? They don't care. If you show up with your kids at their park, then you're asking to be treated like a sex toy and a sex object to these perverts. It's unbelievable that parents would take their kids to these places. Except the only thing I am left to believe is that they want their children taken advantage of. I remember years ago thinking, why the hell would any parent take their kid to Hollywood to be a child actor, knowing that there's going to be a bunch of pedophiles and sickos there who are going to do the most awful things to them? Well, I think there's parents out there that are just that sick, that they would give up, that they would sell their children off for whatever, a little bit of money. It's disgusting, folks. This is how you treat a socialist in office. Remember Liz Cheney? She was booed by graduate students at Colorado College. That's right. They turned their chairs backwards while the bitch was addressing them. That is the proper treatment for a socialist, just short of lobbing tomatoes and whatever else they can at her. I hope that she really got to see a good percentage of them, folks, turn their back on her, because she is a piece of shit. She really is. She's a sellout. She's a scumbag. You bet. You bet. And oh, yeah, I mean, folks, James Comey, once again, he thinks Trump is an existential threat to America. An existential threat to America. Just how does he get from here to there? How? How is that even remotely possible? That's what I'd like to know. Where does James Comey get off saying that? The guy who wouldn't enforce law. He wouldn't. I'm gonna go right back to the story here. I think he poses a near existential threat to the rule of law. The rule of law, the only lawlessness that occurred during Trump's administration was January 2nd. I'm sorry, 6th. And that rule of law or lawlessness was caused by the police and agents provocateur from the FBI and other federal law enforcement institutions. Unbelievable. Just sickening, these fucking people. Are you prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense? Are you prepared? What if a nuclear strike hits here? What if an EMP strike hits here? What if these lunatics just start going door to door, banging down doors, and just assaulting people? If they're willing to assault Marines in public, they're willing to assault you. If they're willing to form gangs because they know that they'll get their asses kicked if they act individually, what are you going to do when you see a gang of little punks with pink and green and blue hair walking down the street? Or punks coming out of the hood? Or punks coming out of a college? What are you going to do? You best be advised to make yourself invisible or turn yourself into a bristling porcupine of death. It's coming. It truly is. Now, it is too much World War III for a Tuesday, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn the show over to you guys now. It is now your turn. I told you so. Did we not all predict? Are we not all teachers of this shit? Because we've seen it. We saw it coming, and here it is. All right. I think we've got a nice selection of questions ready to go. Jolene, Uman, who should we put up first? Well, let's start with David. He said J6 was all to place fear into America. That's what David says. Well, David, it worked. It has told people, me included, don't go to Washington, D.C. Don't put up a big old stink in Washington, D.C. Well, I can, from the comfort of my office chair, send lots of messages to every single legislator in Washington, Democrat or Republican, representative or senator, and even El Presidente douchebag himself. Doesn't mean they'll heed me, but they'll certainly hear from me. If we all do that, folks, we'll let them know. It's scaring corporations. They're losing money. It's scaring little Justin Trudeau. I'm sure he'll have someone, be sure and pack him real hard so that, he feels safe. Let's get him all snuggled in tonight. Some big furry bear of a Canadian man will help protect him. Anyways, David continues. So no actual insurrection would be attempted. Prove me wrong? I can't prove you wrong, man. America is now afraid to stand up. America is seeing political persecution. Not prosecution of crimes, but persecution for political stance. It is chilling those who would vote normally, but now think, I don't want to be registered. I don't want to vote as a Republican because I think someone is going to find out who I am and show up at my door. They're going to knock on my door. They're going to harass me. I could lose my job. I could lose my life. I could lose my family. I could lose my wealth and my retirement. That is the point. I think you're right. It's not a prove me wrong. It's look at America. But what are we doing? We're not fighting in the streets with guns. No. That's the Democrats that do that. They are the violent, murderous, terrorist thugs. Democrats. Real Americans currently at this time, at this juncture, are intelligently saying, you know what? Fuck you, Washington, and you fruitcakes and Hollywood. We just won't spend our money. Tell us who you are so we can cut you off. And it's happening. Kohl's, Target, Bud Light, Ford. Oh, you want a rainbow truck? You can fucking have it. Go right ahead. Nike, Adidas, Coca-Cola, go screw yourselves. Stop funding them. What was the other one? Was it Smirnoff? Smirnoff vodka? Yeah. You want to be woke? Then you can go broke, you pieces of shit. We can put the pressure on them. Media companies, high-tech media companies, they're losing money left and right because they're killing themselves while trying to hurt us. And so they're having to fire their people and get rid of them. The economy's taking a shit. You bet. Only send your money where it's both appreciated and respected. Budweiser, if you go buy a case of cheap-ass beer, you're telling Budweiser, I don't have any self-respect as a human being. Take my money, I'm a loser. I don't care if Budweiser is $1.99 for a case of 24. Even if you buy it to blow it up at this point, you're somehow supporting them in a way that they don't need to know about. They don't need to see people buying their shit because it's cheap. That's just going to encourage them to make even shittier queer beer. Ha! All right. Jolene Uman, who is next? We got survival readiness, and thanks for the great emails today, man. He says, drones attacked Moscow yesterday. Well, that's true. I reported it today because, they're a day ahead of us on the clock. He says, whether it was Ukraine or a false flag by Russia, neither is good news. This gives Russia reason to escalate in a major way against Ukraine or retaliate against the U.S., and I'll add NATO as well. Now, I don't believe this is a false flag by Russia. It's not the best way. The best way for a false flag, and the Russians are not stupid, folks. They're not idiots. They're not. The best way for them to do something would be to do an attack and then make it look directly like the Ukrainians were there doing it. Right? They could dress up Russian soldiers in Ukraine uniforms with Nazi Ukraine flags and then film it. That would be the way to do it. Then release it in media. That would be the way to do it. Right? Just, I don't know. There's just more intelligent ways to make the United States and NATO and Ukraine look bad. As it is, sending these drone bombs into the heart of Moscow, I just don't see that as being something Russia would do to itself. I don't see them as nefarious as NATO. Remember, folks, the Ukraine military was lobbing artillery shells trying to hit the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia, formerly Ukraine. That's right, they're trying to blow up a nuclear power plant and cause a nuclear disaster. Ukraine did that. And folks, where's the outrage from the Western media? Where's the outrage from the ecological geeks, right? The climate freaks, right? The green weenies out there. Why aren't they screaming and yelling about Ukraine that way? It's because they're a bunch of hypocritical idiots. It's not about what they believe. It's about their agenda, which is to always empower government more so. Still, Russia now has the justification for lighting up Kiev, for really screwing the people of Ukraine. But I think that here's my prediction, though. I don't think Putin is blaming the Ukraine people. They were part of a hostile coup d'etat performed back in 2013-14 by none other than the CIA. They took over Ukraine. And immediately, once they had control of the government and the military, began their attacks on Russians, ethnic Russians. That's right. The Zelensky regime is, folks, a murderous regime. So the people don't want any part of that. But since then, Ukraine has been the most corrupt country on the entire planet. That says a lot, considering that there are countries in the Middle East, there are countries around the world that are just scum. But Ukraine's like, hold my beer. Let us show you what scum is all about. So I don't think that Putin is blaming the Ukraine people and thinking they support this. In fact, the Ukraine people don't want to go fight against the Russian military and get their asses handed to them or their livers cut out. Putin, I think, is going to go after the heads of the military, the Minister of the Interior, Zelensky himself. But who knows? Maybe they'll go after some NATO bases. Now understand, if NATO is directly attacked, any NATO base, then they get to say, oh, Russia just attacked us. Remember when those Ukraine bombs somehow went the wrong direction and landed in Poland? And they tried blaming Russia for those Ukraine bombs that were there? They almost dragged NATO in then under their, I believe it was Article 6 rule. Any NATO country attacked is to be retaliated against by all of NATO. Do you think the rest of Europe is ready to fight Russia? Do they really think Russia is going to tolerate that? Because it's bullshit. Putin doesn't want to start World War III. He's equally, folks, open to destruction by nuclear weapons. So why would he push for that? Why wouldn't he strategically target his enemies and take them out? Why wouldn't he strategically assassinate those that piss him off? Or at least try to. I think that's what we're going to see. Or rather, that's what's going to happen. And what we don't see is going to be a silent or very quiet, aggressive response. I think they're playing a very stupid and fucking dangerous game. And it would be nice to see someone literally bitch slap Zelensky and tell him to shut up. And I wish the United States government and NATO would stop giving that little tyrant weapons of war to use, to destroy, to murder, to kill people, and push World War III on us all. I have my potassium iodide tablets, folks. Potassium iodide, in case we start having some nuclear conflicts. Well, folks, it's happened again. In Texas, they passed a bill banning minors from drag shows, drag queens, and sexualized performances. Good. I hope the left lose their mind again. I hope these left-wing lunatics try taking over the Texas state capitol. People need to see what a bunch of violent, I almost said the F word, violent fruits that they are. I'm sick of them. Sick of them pretending to be victims when all they do is victimize children and screw us all over. It used to be cute and funny to see a fucking drag queen person. You're like, look at that freak. Now, folks, the fruits are pushing against us and our national decency. They're an embarrassment to humanity. And they are truly a bunch of sick, fucked up people in their heads. All right. Let's do this. Let's continue if we shall. Whew. Ooman says, reports of 53 shot, 11 dead in Chicago over the weekend. Worst Memorial Day weekend since 2005. The new Mayor BJ's solution? He wants to take a holistic approach to reduce violent crime. Not sure exactly what that means. Yeah, I don't really know what that means. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Well, I mean, get this. That's the mayor of Chicago. He's going to take a holistic approach. I think that the mayor of New York City is now possessed. There's an imposter because Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, denounced communism and denounced socialism, and he called on young Americans to embrace patriotism. Stunned. Or, folks, do the idiots of New York City, especially the youth, think patriotism is telling the government they want more socialism and communism? Just weird. What a weird freaking weekend. Back to Uman's 53 shot. 53 people shot. 11 people killed. How many shots do you think were fired and people missed? You know, because pointing your gun like this at people, you want to miss, aim like this. I want these idiots in the hood to continue to, yeah, man, I'll bust a cap in your ass and point a gun at people straight down. You're going to miss. Good. Whew. But Chicago, it's a shit show. New York City, it's a shit show. Every major metropolis is a shit show. San Francisco, enjoy. Seattle, glad you're losing all of your anchor stores. That is to say, major stores that are losing so much business that they shut them down. I'm glad America is rejecting wokeism. Fuck them. And I want America to stand up to our own government and say, stop funding Ukraine. All they're doing is pushing for World War III. Does anyone in America even fucking remember why? Literally, not me and you, not patriots, not our group folks, but do other Americans even know why we're in Ukraine? Do they know what the goal is? Is there a fucking stated goal? Do Americans know that those little breakaway republics are no longer part of Ukraine? That they voted and are now independent and they've sided with? They've decided they'll be part of the Russian Federation. Have they figured that out? Russia's not invading more of Ukraine, but they just might get it. They might get more, folks, more Russian tanks and military over into the now new Ukraine. It doesn't matter if the United States accepts what Russia and these breakaway republics say. It doesn't matter if NATO and Europe like the fact that those little countries said, you know what, we're done with Ukraine. Fact of the matter is the Russian military is holding them and protecting them from retaliation. Because if Russia backed out right now, what do you think would happen? Tell me what you think would happen to the Donbass. What do you think would happen? Ukraine would roll in with tanks and armored vehicles. Their military would get out of their tanks and military vehicles and transports, and they would start murdering civilians. They would go to the government buildings and they would murder anyone inside. And then they would replace them with their own people once again. And those people would say, we're now in charge of the government and you will do as you're told. And they would go arrest everyone that they suspected of having anything to do with freeing those republics from Ukraine. And they would summarily execute them, folks, as an example to future generations, that you do not leave Ukraine, that you don't leave a tyrannical government and a dictator that way, because that's what Zelensky is, a dictator, the same as Adolf Hitler, folks, the same as. Zelensky's gone after the priesthood, the church. He's stolen their money. He's put them in jail. His political opponents, he's stolen their money and put them in jail and silenced them. No one's allowed to criticize Zelensky, folks. Sound like a country you want to be part of? Best money ever spent. Best money ever spent, says Lindsey Graham. Folks, if you go to war, it is a solemn thing. We're not at war, by the way. We're supporting a country that wants to murder everybody that opposes it and threaten everybody that opposes it. I'm not talking about Russia. I'm talking about Ukraine. I don't know. I guess I'm preaching to the choir with you guys. Hit the thumbs up then. All right, choir, thumbs up. All right, choir, send these this internet address out. Hey, make sure you're subscribed, choir. People need to wake the hell up. They do. They sure do. All right, Jolene Uman, I know we've got more. Heidi says, does the U.S. have any viable bomb shelters left? Yes. Yeah, oh, you bet. The U.S. government has their continuity of government, their COG facilities. They have them all over the country. Additionally, they have deep underground military bases, DUMBs, for us, the civilians. There are fallout shelters that have remained in existence. That's right, folks, in existence since the Cold War with the Soviet Union. In fact, buildings used to be all considered nuclear fallout shelters because they could withstand incredible bombing, like the World Trade Center. It was taken out by an airplane full of low temperature burning fuel. But, you know, years before that, folks, back in the 90s, terrorists drove a van load of explosives, park it next to a steel reinforced concrete column in the basement, and blew it off. And guess what? It didn't affect the building at all. Those buildings, folks, not just the World Trade Center, but buildings everywhere that have parking garages under them, are typically reserved as fallout shelters, bomb shelters, because they're so fucking strong. But my golly, crash an airplane, an aluminum tin can full of lighter fluid, and you're gonna create some of the world's greatest havoc. What a crock of shit. Thank you, Heidi. And moving along, I know we've got about 9 minutes left, and we got doing stuff with Nikki. And she says this, oh my God, of course they do. Everyone forgets all the crazy super bunker building that was going on, especially during Obama's time. And not just this country. I think they knew soon something big is happening. Nikki is right. Not only did the governments build more, folks, and not only did they build bomb shelters, they built food storage facilities, resource storage facilities underground. They tunneled in and mined in these huge underground facilities and filled them with truckloads of everything they could. And the wealthy people, they built their bunkers as well, folks. They bought old nuclear missile silos, of course, missiles removed. They bought military facilities that have been sold back to the public. They've built their own underground living facilities with years worth of food stacked inside deep, buried in the hills. They're all grown over now with lush vegetation to hide their location. I'm sure they've erased the roads that it took to get there, right? You build a nice straight road to the location, and when you're done building your underground complex for millions of dollars, what do? You smear that road out, plant it over with topsoil and grass, and then you build another winding, zigzagging road that looks like it leads somewhere else entirely. So even those who built the place will have a hard time if they can even find their way back. They've been planning this for years and years and years, of course. That's what the government does. It takes your money and plans for its survival while simultaneously screwing you out of your rights and even more of your money. Hard to argue with that, folks, because that is a fact. Take that satire and smoke it in a pipe. Ah, boy, funny stuff, huh? Funny stuff. Over the South China Sea, hot off the presses, a Chinese fighter jet has just now carried out some overt, in-your-face, super unnecessary, aggressive crap with American military. Why does China feel like they need to get involved? Folks, China and Russia are good buddies. The moment it's time, folks, China and Russia can pull the plug on America. Same with Saudi Arabia and the entire Middle East. Not just America, they can fuck over Europe as well. And why wouldn't they? Folks, Europe and America possess an incredible amount of wealth for the planet. But it is the rest of the planet that possesses an incredible amount of the natural resources. Those resources necessary to power Europe and North America, as in energy, oil, gas, coal, and nuclear. The rest of the world, folks, can cut off America and Europe so quick it'd make their fucking heads spin. Russia could at any time, folks. Putin could at any time say, no more nuclear pellets. No more uranium enriched for nuclear power plants in Europe or the world. Russia could cut off natural gas. Russia could cut off oil supplies to Europe instantly and say, well, fuck you then. I know that right now Russia is taking full advantage of everyone with higher energy prices and enriching themselves. I guess they're saying, you know what? We'll fight you through your idiot army of Ukraine, but we're going to enrich ourselves. And what are they doing? What are they doing with all that wealth, folks? What do you think Russia is doing in China? Well, their governments are taking care of themselves as well. They're padding their books. They're building their bunkers. They're putting their food in it. And they're also buying the ever-loving shit out of gold and silver and other precious commodities. They're stockpiling commodities, folks. They're taking our money or Europe's money, and they're buying whatever they need for the coming very hard times. At the very least, we've got a massive recession coming. They're staving it off by printing money, folks. Print, 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 print. They're staving it off, but it's coming. It's coming. Now, what else have we got? Have we caught up with everyone? Have I nailed everything to the floor? Do we have more? No, I haven't got everyone. Sally Sue wants to say something regarding the assault of the Marines in San Clemente, California. She says, I recently read a book called When Violence is the Answer, which asserts that acting first against a threat is your best chance at survival. We, especially us good girls, says Sally Sue, have to change the way we act and react and not worry that we might be perceived as being rude. If you feel like a situation is dangerous, it probably is. People need to understand that these punk kids do not respect authority. If the Marines were dressed in uniform, they could have still had their asses beaten. If the Marines had rifles, then of course the answer would have been no. But, and I think this is probably still true, you could drive across Pendleton or Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Wow. Woo! You could drive across the base. And with the exception of rifle ranges where people are qualifying and training ranges, you will not find people armed on military bases. Even those with rifles most likely will not have ammunition on them. I always found that interesting, that whether I was on Pendleton, a Marine ground base, or Cherry Point, a Marine air base, the number of armed Marines was always very, very low. Lower than the general public, in fact. Now, as far as Sally Sue's comments, she's absolutely 100% correct. If you're in danger, you need to either flee or start fighting, because there's going to be an ass whipping. There's going to be one. I faced down 4 idiots once, folks. 4 idiots at a bar who decided they wanted to fight me. One especially. And the way I got out of it was by becoming very aggressive and threatening to them. And they would have fucking murdered me. The 4 of them could have pummeled me and beat the ever-loving shit out of me. But because I became aggressive, they backed the fuck down. The situation has happened more times than I care to count. And maybe you have experienced it. But you need to be aggressive, folks, when you sense danger and it's your ass. All right, let's do this. Let's do a couple more questions and get the hell out of here. Chin Music says, John, if non-members of the NRA would stop shooting people, gun violence would drop by 100%. There it is. NRA, other Second Amendment organizations, the people that support the Second Amendment know what guns are for. Truly, great statement, Chin Music, and thanks for your continuous, humorous, accurate, spot on, funny as hell, and in your face comments, suggestions, questions, etc. By the way, go see your congressman and tell him one more time, if you haven't already. Tell him for the 10th time, if the son of a bitch won't listen, throw McCarthy out of his fucking office now. The guy's a piece of shit. Thank you, Chin Music. You're a good man. Okay, Uman, Jolene. Well, we got Michael Brown. He says, I would rather die than bow down to a bully. Brother, I hear you, man. I hear you. Every time I got bullied in school, it fucking hurt. I got my ass kicked. Every time I decided to fight back, thank you, Uman and Jolene. Every time I decided to fight back, Michael, I either won or hit a draw. By resisting the bullies, by fighting back. Everyone went home with busted up fucking bones or a busted nose. And sometimes I even won. Sometimes. But at least I put up a damn good fight. But bowing to a bully and giving in, guarantees an ass beating. Bending the fucking knee the way those jackasses did to BLM, you lose your fucking dignity as well as everything else. Tell you what, folks, that's what they want. That's what the left demands, is for you to kiss their ass. That's why these freaking fruitcakes are out here. It's to push it in our face until we give in by calling us names and then threatening us. Who's threatening us? Who's bullying out there? It's these fruitcakes with their pink little shirts and their little pussy pink hats, holding guns, saying that they're going to bash back. Well, we're not bashing them, folks. They're the only ones doing the bashing. And it needs to stop. Stand up for America. Stand up for your kids. Stand up for what's right. Stand for what's right, or don't stand at all. God bless y'all. Semper Fi. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Great show, everyone. Thank you again and again. And share this message.